So I'm Reshma Shah. I'm the carbon markets lead at FSD Africa, which is a specialist development agency making finance work better for Africa.
Amazing. And tell me, what brought you here to Carbon Markets Africa Summit?
Yeah, for number one, it's the first carbon market summit that's looking at the whole continent. And a great mix of people from investors, regulators, project developers, service providers. And it's actually all the key stakeholders that we knew we would need to work with if we really want to make a change in carbon markets in Africa. But the other key reason is we've got an accelerator called CAPE, the Carbon Accelerator Program for the Environment. So we selected 4 projects out of over 100 applicants that are looking at nature-based carbon projects. And we felt this would be the right forum to actually showcase these projects to investors and buyers. They're part of the main program. They're presenting on main stage. We're getting great feedback. So it's already a success for us.
That's amazing. And speak a bit more on the UN UNIP program that happened yesterday.
Yeah, so yesterday was a pre-conference day, and so UNIP had, in collaboration with IBCMI, had a session on REDD Plus and nature-based solutions, which is actually quite important from an African context, given if we're looking at carbon, then a big proportion of that is going to come from nature-based. But their focus was also on investors and regulators and how, what are the changes that individual countries are making to be ready for investment, and how were the investors perceiving those changes from a confidence, transparency, but also from a risk management perspective. So that was actually a really good forum in having that dialogue. And I was asked to kind of lead on the country engagements with Ethiopia, so interviewing the commissioner there, which is also quite exciting because that same morning, we were actually selecting our Cape Ethiopia cohorts. So it was very relevant.
That's amazing. So what is happening in Ethiopia at the moment with regards to carbon markets and carbon projects?
Yeah, so what we are seeing is there's a lot of effort in terms of putting the right enabling environment, putting the right policies in place and really building capacity of the government. Are they there yet? No. But are they working towards it? Is intention there? And are their partners working with them to make that happen? Yes. We're also seeing that there are significant projects being developed. So when we started thinking about Cape Ethiopia, we thought we would primarily get very early stage projects. We got about 44 projects, about to select about 2 to 3 projects, and most of them are more later stage, ready for investment type projects. So it's showing that there is a market there for good projects and supply. The government are willing to put the right mechanisms in place. So the other aspects that need to come together are the funding and the financing side. And Ethiopia's got its now securities exchange, and the capital markets authorities are very active. So that's very promising. And the other things that need to come into place is local capacity to provide the services, local capacity to actually develop those projects. So the ingredients are coming together.
That's amazing. So from an African perspective, it seems like there are all of these different potentials in different African countries. How do we kind of come together from across Africa? Do you think it would be a good idea to have an overarching African regulatory body, or should it be more regionalized?
Yeah, so from a regulatory perspective, it's very difficult for it to be Africa-wide, right? Because there's still the sovereign laws of each country. But there's a lot of scope for really bringing together standardization. So ODNEPAD have been working on the integrity standard principles. That brings about what should we be expecting from Africa in terms of the types of principles and standards we should be applying to our standards. So there's things like that that we can do in terms of really reducing how much each government has to put in place by leaning and learning from each other. So those kind of mechanisms are very important, but also looking at things regionally in terms of what kind of capacity building can be done regionally, what kind of funding structures can be done regionally. Those are the other things that can really drive the change on the continent. Yeah.
And where do you think is the most untapped potential in Africa for the carbon projects?
I think across the board. We are at 2% of our potential as a continent. So at 2% potential, and we're not talking about one sector, right? You can talk about nature-based, you talk about blue economy, you can talk about energy, other external agriculture, soil health. Like, you look at all the kind of potential for carbon, and we've probably got it there. So yeah, I would say across the board, we've got untapped potential.
Amazing. So what is the biggest barrier now that needs to be overcome?
So we need to build confidence with investors. So this is the work around the enabling environment. We need to bring funding. Yeah, and not just, we're not talking about support, but we're talking about actual private money coming in, blended finance models that can help reduce the cost of capital, de-risking mechanisms. Local financial institutions need to come on board. We're talking about banks, insurance, pension funds. We have our own local capital. It needs to be driven towards some of this as well. And then we need to build capacity around having our own expertise on areas like MRV. We talk about importing a lot of the support services for carbon. Why do we need to do that? If we had it more localized and build that capacity, we're going to build a much bigger base. And for us, when we look at it, carbon markets at FSD, it's not just the sale of credits we're interested in. It's that whole value chain. What are we doing around creating value, retaining value within the continent, livelihoods, jobs, building capacity, new talent that we can revert to other operations. So those are all things that can be driven through carbon markets.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you so much. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we end the interview?
Looking forward to the next summit already.
Yes. Thank you so much. Great excitement.
Thank you.